Hello guys, welcome back today in this other new session today of Agile Scrum lessons. This is the third lesson since we started from day one. Jay Bry, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, sir. Thank
All
you.
right,
And you?
I'm doing great. Nice. So today we were going to have some other people on the team, but they like had one or two things, so they couldn't show up. But it's fine. We're going to continue from where we ended the last time. So before we begin, please, we want you to explain a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit uh, what you've uh, been learning so far, your understanding around the introduction into the Agile Scrum Framework lessons?
Okay, sir. I think from the very beginning, I don't know if you want me to take like if a rundown of what I've gotten so far from the beginning or from the last class.
No, like a summary of what you've understood from the beginning, like since we started the lessons. This is day three into our lessons. So we want to get a summary of what you've understood so far.
I think so far we started our classes from a topic software development life cycle, and we gave a definition of a development life cycle, which I understood to be that it is a situation where a vendor and clients come together to plan together. And then in planning, they talk about the requirements, they talk about the designing, they talk about the builder stage, in other words, the development stage.
Yeah, can you be
Then
audible a little bit, please? People want to
then
hear
we
you
then we went
well.
further to talk again about the quality assurance, which is the tester stage, where they test and send for deployment for the end users, then the process of time they go in for maintenance and enhancement. Then I think that was all about the very first class, the stages. This is a full summary. The second class we talk about the types of software development life cycle. In the process of that, we listed that about four or five types of software development life cycle. We talk of the waterfall model, the agile model, and then we also went further to talk about the DevOps, the lean model, and the V-shaped model. So we started explaining from one. The very first one that we talked about was the waterfall model, where it is uh, a process where the take or carry from one stage to another. A process is completed before another stage is being considered. So then we got an overview, we came to the advantages, and we said this kind of a project is very advantageous because a stage is completed, evaluated, then before moving to another stage. Then we also one of the another advantage was that at the end of the day, the end user does not interrupt. Unlike in Agile, where the end user will always have some input, they have a say before a product is being deployed for end users. And then another advantage with the waterfall we got was that uh, the key tasks are being set effortless, unlike the Agile, where another group of another team will give an input before it is being put in use. So with this one, with the waterfall, we also had some shortcomings along the way. We talk of that the long this process is not good for long-term project. the model is not good for long-term project because it is time wastage. And then we also talk about the risk because there's a stage where you can carry on the project at the tail end. You discover some breakdowns, so that is a very high advantage. I think so far so good. That was some of the few things I got throughout the beginning of the classes. Those are the few things, the few items that I've gotten so far.
All right. Thank you so much. I think you have gotten pretty much, I would say, for the most part, you've gotten most of the things that we've been discussing, if not all. I mean, you've gotten for the most of it. So you've talked about introduction to software development lifecycle, which was the first thing that we learned in our first class. So with introduction to software development lifecycle, we will say we said for any software development project that they want to build, maybe a web-based application, maybe a mobile application. Okay, so they will come like, okay, let's say if it is a business client who will maybe come to meet Silver Tech Space, which may be a software consulting firm, to say, okay, hey, I want a mobile application for you to build so that I can host my e-commerce store on that application for customers to so that customers can sign on this app this application to order to make purchase the item, place orders, pay their orders from this application. So no matter any type of software development lifecycle that they want to follow, irrespective of this type, there is always a process that I will follow. They must be able to do planning. They must be able to gather requirement. They must be able to do system analysis, like do a design on how they want the project to look like, discuss the technology, this and the different tools that they want to use, discuss the platform that they want to host this application on. Is it on GCP? Is it on Azure? Is it on maybe AWS, wherever? Is it on Oracle? I mean, or maybe they want to host it on premises. All of that. Don't worry about all these words I'm using. They are pretty simple. You're going to see those words ahead as we move ahead. Then, um, so that is it all about the introduction about software development lifecycle. So there is a process that he has to follow. So that when they discuss all of that, from the planning, requirement gathering, and analysis, then they will now come to system design. They'll design it, and then there must be some build stage, which is the development of the code, the building of the code. So they write the codes, then get the code tested by the testers, the software code testers, and then the application will be deployed to production where it is made available to end users. And after that, there is obviously some maintenance or enhancement. And we were looking at type of software development lifecycle. With type of software development lifecycle, it means that they are following this particular uh, pattern, these stages that I just explained to you. They will be following it differently with any type of software development lifecycle. So the first type of software development lifecycle that we discussed was the waterfall model. And you stated it clearly that the waterfall model is obviously a software development lifecycle type where they are going to do all this, the planning, they'll run through the stages one after the other, meaning that the most complete is a software development lifecycle model where each of the stages, the main phases of the software development lifecycle, is completed one after the other. Okay, is completed before the other one is started on. So that is what a waterfall model is. So we discussed some advantages and we also discuss some disadvantages of it. So we said some of the advantages was that okay, uh, they had to the project has a clear view. They have a clear view from the start of the project to the end of the project. So they have done the planning, they know the requirement. Every stage is completed after the order. It's completed before the order is being started. But it has its own downsides that if maybe the application gets to the end, if they take maybe 1 year to build the application, they may get to a testing phase and discover that the application is not working. Something is broken. And so because of that, we said that application has those are some of the shortcomings of waterfall model. And also it has a shortcoming that if you want to take 1 year, 2 years before you build an application, customers' desire would have changed. All right, customers' desire would have changed. It will not be what the customers want anymore. And so because of that, they will not want the application again. And we also say it has a disadvantage is that it's going like each application that you're building out there has like competitors. You also have other organizations, other businesses that want to do the same thing that you are doing. So obviously, those are some disadvantages because if you take a whole 1 year, 2 years to build that type of model before it gets to the market, your competitors would have already been in the market some months or some years before you come into the market, and they will probably have gained the greater share of the market, and you won't have any some space to be able to market your product. So those are some of the disadvantages. And we said if you keep staging those applications before you get to that level where you have to do deployment, you may have a lot of bugs and defects. Don't worry about that. We talk about that as we move forward. So when it gets to maybe UAT, you're going to have a lot of bugs and maybe it's a lot of failures. The code is not working and all of that. So it takes a lot of time to fix that again. And that means you have a lot of money to spend again. And another thing we say was a disadvantage is that when those stakeholders are doing the planning, the developers, the system architects, the QA guys, they are just sitting, right? They're sitting and they're doing nothing, and that's waste of resources. So we discussed all of this and said, we saw, okay, now there's this other model, which is the agile model. So we said, an agile model, we discussed about the introduction to agile, and we said agile is a set of methods, right? Which is, we say agile is an umbrella term, all right? It's an umbrella term that covers a set of methods and best practices that are all defined in the Agile Manifesto. All right. So the set of methods, principles, and values that are all defined in the Agile Manifesto. And we said under that Agile, under the Agile framework, under Agile methodology, there are a lot of frameworks. Okay, there are a lot of frameworks. So we say it was an umbrella term, and you can see it right from here. We're gonna see that today. I think we didn't see that. So with the agile model, which is we will say it's an agile model, which is an agile method of software development lifecycle. So we say agile is an umbrella term, right? That under which we have the set of methods, values, and principles that are all defined in the Agile Manifesto. So we want to see that umbrella term, then we now look at the Agile Manifesto. Did we look at the Agile Manifesto in the last
Yeah,
class?
we look at the Agile Manifesto.
Yes, we will still look at it again today. it will be important that we relook the Agile Manifesto. Then we now look at the principles, the 12 supporting principles of the Agile Manifesto. So we said an agile software methodology. This it. So look at that. So and we say agile is an umbrella term, right? So we want to look at that. This is the agile model, but I want us to first of all look at uh, the umbrella term that agile is being defined upon. We want to see where we have all those frameworks. So we see agile umbrella. Good. This is one right here. So I will copy this. Yes. Let's look at this one. Copy that. Okay, so we say agile is an umbrella term, right? Under which we have a set of frameworks, best practices, and all the methods that we have all these methods, framework, and best practices that are all described in the Agile Manifesto. So this is Agile. It has all these frameworks under it. So Scrum is a framework on its own. Safe is a scale Agile framework. It's a framework on its own. Then you have the Crystal, you have the extreme programming, Kanban, Lean, feature-driven development, test-driven development. All of that, they're all Agile framework. Lean, they're all Agile uh, frameworks. So these are the methods and all the other best practices and the values that Agile is being defined upon. The values that are in the Agile Manifesto that Agile is being defined upon. So what are the Agile Manifesto? What is the Agile Manifesto? You said we discussed that the other day. Can you please help us
Yeah,
to
we the a set of practices, a set of values, and also methods that fall under that are all involved in agile manifestos. We said it was a group of about 17 engineers that came up uh, to solve the problem of division among the developers and the operators. So they had to come up with the agile model with the agile manifesto that contain all these values.
okay. Thank you for that. All right, thank you. All right. So see what the Agile Manifesto is again. I remember we talked about that in the last class. So we want to understand what is Agile Manifesto. So we said back in the 90s, software development industry started having problems. So projects were failing, projects were not like they were building application, they get to the end, they have a lot of bugs to fix. So they were not meeting the target. Customer desires were also increasing. So it was on the rise, right? Everything was on the rise. And so the software, the different method that they were using, they weren't able to meet up with this demand from customers. And the rate at which projects were failing, projects were being cancelled, and all of that. So these industrial experts came together and started having conversation to think, brainstorm on ways to come out with solutions to this problem that the software industry was facing. And so they came out with these interesting four conversation. I would say four key working uh, tools, or call it values, that they want to be using. That this is what they are going to be doing at this time in order to mitigate these problems. And those four key points, they were called Agile Manifesto. So they were called the Agile Manifesto. So give me one moment, please. This is this network. Is this? Let me see. No, it's not network issue. Just a second. So these industrial experts, they came up with those interesting points to just a second. I don't know. Okay, so they came up with those points and they said, okay, this is what we're going to be doing now. Since we have been having projects are being cancelled, teams are not working together, and they keep giving us a lot of documentation. And sometimes we build softwares and we take it to customers, is not what they want. So how do we solve this problem? So that's why they came up with those points to discuss it. So now, so the Agile Manifestos, if someone asking what is the Agile Manifesto, you will say the Agile Manifesto is a set of those guiding values and principles for agile software development for that was articulated first in 2001. All right, it was
Yeah.
articulated first in 2001 by these industrial experts. So it is a set of guiding values and principles that is being adopted by the software development industry. They were first articulated in 2001. So this industrial expert came up with those 4 points and they said, since things are not going the way we want to start valuing individual interactions over processes and tools. That's the first point under that. When I say the first point under that, it doesn't mean it has a particular pattern, right? You can explain all of those points but in any order, but understand that these are the points. So they said they want to start valuing individual interactions over processes and tools. Just a second. Let me see. Why is this? Okay, sorry. Yeah. So this was one of their key points. They said we want to value individual interactions over processes and tools. That's the first thing. So because they discovered that people were focusing on tools, discussing a lot of type of tools that they should use, focusing on uh, all of that, but forgetting individual interactions. So they noticed that individual interaction is very important in the work that we are doing, and so we want to start valuing it. That was the first point. And the second point was that they would prefer working software over uh, comprehensive documentation, right? They would prefer working software over comprehensive documentation. So they said, rather than coming and sometimes you will see a lot of project having a lot of documentation and we are not able to have something that is working. We want, give us something that is working. That's what we want. Okay. So that is the next point. They said we want a software that is working over comprehensive documentation. So that was the next point. We will want a working software and not a comprehensive documentation. So those are one of the things that is decided that this is what we'll be looking at this time. Next, they said they will prefer customers' satisfaction over contract negotiation. Right? They will prefer customers' satisfaction over contract negotiation. Customer satisfaction over contract negotiation. So, because the work that they were initially building, customers were not giving in their input on the work that they were working on. So they started saying like, okay, now what do we do, guys? What do you think we can do? Let us start uh, welcoming customers collaboration, right? For customers to be satisfied, we will need to collaborate with customers so that they can tell us what they want. And when we build what the customers, when we receive customer input, we will be able to build what the customers want. And obviously the customers will be satisfied. That is what it came up with. And the last point, under the agile under the manifesto. So they said they want a working software over comprehensive documentation. Then they want good customers uh, satisfaction over over contract negotiation. And then the next one, which is very very important, is that we are going to welcome res change. We are going to be flexible. So is what they call responding to change over following a particular plan. So that they said we will welcome change. All right, responding to change over following a plan. We cannot say we are going to continuously follow it because we had this plan. That is just the plan that we're going to follow. We cannot do any other thing else. We have to must follow just this plan. So that is a problem. So they said, no, we are going to start welcoming change and respond to that change over following a particular plan or over following a plan. This is what the Agile Manifesto is saying. Then, interestingly, this Agile Manifesto has 12 supporting principles. It has 12 supporting principles, which are the principles of Agile Manifesto. So we'll say, what are the principles of Agile Manifesto, right? So I said there are 12 supporting principles to that. And the principles were, the first principle is customers collaboration. So they said they will welcome customers at collaboration in order to meet up with one of those manifesto, right?
Yeah.
Customers collaboration is a very important one. So it means that they will welcome customers collaboration. They want to work together with their customer. Collaboration. And the next one is that team members are going to start working together. This is the next one. So the next one is working together. Working together, which is very important. The next one is continuous delivery. So they said, rather than building a software for the whole year, we are going to do continuous delivery. Since they will want to make sure that they are not being beaten by competition in the market, they want to do continuous delivery. And also to make sure that they meet up the customer's desire, they also want to meet up with the speed with which the technology is growing, continuous delivery. And the next one is they want to see the teams being self-organizing. So they want to work in the self-organizing teams. Self-organizing teams. And the next one is they want to maintain simplicity. They want to maintain simplicity. And then the next one is that they want to be able to welcome change. They want to be able to respond to change. And you will understand that each of these principle is tied to at least one of the Agile manifesto. So they want to be able to, they'll be welcoming change. And they will welcome the change and they will respond to that. Then the next one is we've talked about customer satisfaction, we talked about frequent delivery or continuous delivery. Yep. We talked about simplicity, we talked about self-organizing teams. Then we've talked about working together, and then we've talked about collaboration. There's also another one called collaboration. Collaboration. So if I can't list them, or if I'm not listing them all right here, you can see we can pull them from here, and you will see the list of the 12 principles of the Agile Manifesto. So I would say principles. Google that principles of the Agile Manifesto. Here you go, principles of Agile Manifesto. You see that 12 principles behind the Agile Manifesto. You see that
Yep.
there's it right here on Google. So if I pull this up, you'll see the principles listed. These are the 12 principles behind the Agile Manifesto. This is Agile Alliance. This is another third-party organization that is sitting to training. I guess it's a consulting. Yeah, Agile Alliance is another organization that is training Agile practitioners, and it's a consulting organization. Yes, so these are the 12 supporting principles. So you see, they say our highest priority is to satisfy the customer, that customer satisfaction. The next one is welcoming change, right? They'll be welcoming change. Then they'll be doing what? Delivering software frequently from a couple of weeks to a couple of months with a preference to the shorter time scale. They want to deliver continuously. And the next one is they say they want to build projects around what? Motivating individuals. And then they want to have efficiency and effectiveness method of conveying the information to, and within the development team. Face-to-face conversation. This is it right here. This one is the one that one of the ones that we're missing. Face-to-face interaction. Very important. And you also then you have what? Working software. You have what? This one is constant pace definition. Let me see this. Yeah, sustainability. Very important. I didn't talk about face-to-face interaction. I didn't talk about sustainability. That is very important. Those are the two. Those are one of the tools that we're missing. Then continuous attention is another one that we didn't write it out. Continuous attention. Then simplicity. We talk about simplicity. Self-organizing teams. We talk about that. And also we talked about, let me see, at regular times interval, the team reflects and then adjust accordingly. Yeah, that's responding to change. Yeah, those are the 12 supporting principles of the Agile Manifesto. Okay. All right. So if we return here, I just want to pick up one in the picture format. Let's see if you pick this up. You see this one? You give you a deeper understanding if you want to look at it. All right. This is just to add to what we have. But I guess this one is not looking right. Let me see this. I'm looking for one that is a little bit clearer so you can see that easily. Yeah, but I'll give you some note about it. I got a note prepared for you guys, so you guys will be good. I got some note prepared for that for you guys. All right, so we will continue. So now, after all of this, with all these interesting things about Agile has its own advantages that we discussed the other day, and it has its own disadvantages. So the other day we talked about the advantages of all of these nice things. We said customers are giving their own input, they're collaborating with customers, and then we also said they are it's it maximizes profit for the organization, right? There is transparency. It maximizes profit. There is transparency and all of that. So we had advantages the other day. Do you have the advantage? I gave some advantages the other day, right?
Mm, yeah, I think so. We flash over.
Yeah. So Agile has so many advantages. So just so many advantages. One of the advantages is that with Agile, you can there's what continuous attention or continuous delivery, call it that way. There's continuous attention. And then we said there's continuous attention, and then there is team collaboration. There's a lot of collaboration in Agile. There's continuous attention around the software they're building. There is collaboration among the team members. Then the good news is that they are flexible. It is flexible. So that's one of the advantages as well. So the methodology has flexibility. So there's flexibility, then there is also customer satisfaction. And customers input. Let's start with customers input. It has customers input, which is good, right?
Yeah.
If we don't have customer input, the software we're building, we may build what the customer do not want. So companies, they need to, they've been working and making sure that they are bringing in customers input on what they are building. That's why in most of the applications out there are having feedback loop. They always have feedback loop to take what the customers want to see to enhance the platform that we are all using, right? Right. Then, yeah, these are a few things about it. And there is continuous attention. There is transparency. I didn't even talk about transparency. That's one of another very important, uh, a very important advantage. There's transparency because there needs to be transparency around the work that we are working on. There's transparency, all of that. So these are let's just allow these ones. You'll see more. You guys will see more in the material that we have for you guys. Then now, after away from these good advantages, there is also disadvantages of agile. You also have disadvantages. Disadvantages. So there are some disadvantages around it. The first disadvantage is that sometimes customers do not even know what they want. Right?
Yeah.
Customers don't know what they want sometimes. Because there's customers input, they sometimes do not know what they want. So they'll keep like talking to the team member. They'll be like, we don't know. We wanted something, but we don't really know what we want. We want something. We really want something, but they don't know what they want. So that's a problem. Then the next disadvantage is that there are too much meetings. So many meetings in Agile. So too much meetings, right? So they are wasting resources. So many meetings. That's the problem with Agile, right? And so, and then another disadvantage is that requirements are not fixed. Requirements are constantly changing. That's the problem, right? Requirements are changing. The scope is changing. That's a disadvantage also. Requirements keep changing. Yeah, but in waterfall they'll have well-defined requirement before the start of the project. But with this, requirement keeps changing. So those are the downside of Agile. Some of the downsides of Agile. You'll see more. You guys will see more in the material. Okay. Now, the next important thing that we are going to start looking into is going to be some of the frameworks that are under Agile. We'll start looking at Agile frameworks. And remember, we have an interesting umbrella here. We said Agile frameworks, these are Agile frameworks right here. That is not all, but those are some of the frameworks. It depends on the organization that is defining it. And then so we have, yep. Where did I do that? Let me see this. Do we have that below here? No. Okay, I think I've pasted it twice. Okay, no, it's fine. So Agile frameworks. So we talked about Agile frameworks. So let me copy this and I'll paste this right here. What are Agile frameworks? They will ask you in an interview, what are some other Agile frameworks that you know? So we say, what are Agile frameworks? So the Agile frameworks are just a list of uh, those methods, right? The list of methods that are under the Agile umbrella that we saw under the Agile umbrella. And one of it was Scrum. One of it was Scrum. Let me change this color. I want to change this color to green. Yeah, so one of it was Scrum. Another one was Lean. The next one was, I would say, Safe first. And then the next one was Lean. And another one was TDD. TDD is test-driven development. Another one was FDD, which is feature-driven development. That's another Agile framework. Another one was Crystal. These are all interesting frameworks. Another one was Kanban. You need to know all these frameworks. Kanban. An interesting framework. And another one is uh what did I say? So these are all interesting Agile frameworks. So let me see this. Um so some other people will say that another one is Scrum at large scale, right? Scrum at large scale. So when you hear about that, you guys hear about that, it shouldn't be strange. So some other people they will have some they will say it's Scrum at large scale. Yes, so say it's Scrum at large scale. And some will say Scrum at yes, Scrum at large scale. Then another interesting one is extreme programming. Very important. Extreme programming. They will just say it's XP, which is extreme programming. All right. So these are agile frameworks. Now, we want to study one of these frameworks. We're going to go, the goal of these lessons that we've been taking all these days is we want to study one of these framework, and that framework is Scrum. All right. That framework that we want to study is Scrum. That is a framework that we want to study. Now, the question now is, what is Scrum? I mean, we're going to study Scrum, and hopefully we're going to also come back and then look at the difference between Scrum and all these other frameworks, how they relate, and then we want to understand how these other frameworks are working, right? Because for you to be able to excel on your team, you want to know how other frameworks are working. Some teams are using two types of these frameworks. Okay, some teams may be using two types of this framework. You may be supporting two other teams that are using two different frameworks, maybe Kanban and Scrum, which sometimes you hear about Scrumban. You're going to hear about Scrumban, and you're also going to hear about Agile, meaning organization. The team is using both a little bit of Agile and then also use a little bit of Waterfall, so they are in the transition process. So they may not be completely doing Agile and they may not be also completely doing Waterfall. So that is what the teams may be going through. We are going to stop here for today, and in our next lesson, we are going to continue with Scrum. We're going to look at what is Scrum, and we'll study Scrum from there. Do you have any question at this moment?
I think it was well explicit, sir.
All right.
And I think maybe I'll have question in the next class.
Yeah, if you have any question at any time, feel free to shoot out the question. We are going to, you guys, I'm just explaining a little bit is what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to first of all go through all of this. I mean not going through all. I want you guys to first of all understand the concept, okay? The background, the entire background of these concepts. Then we are now going to come back. They will come in a session where we are going to now be discussing it together because I want you guys to have the entire background. Then we will now come now in another session and start discussing it together, right? So we will all have an idea of what the concept is all about before we will now start discussing it together. All right. So stop here today. You say you do not have any question. So I will say do have a wonderful time and we'll see you guys in the next lesson, guys. Until then, bye.